What's going on, YouTube? This is Mr. Killer Hornet. I'm joined with co-host Trouble8385
Hello?
and Anthony the Combat Fighter.
Oh,
And we are the Bound to Earth Gaming Podcast, and we'd like to welcome you all to our very first episode. So how's everybody doing today?
good?
Hot as hell.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay.
All right, first of all, we thought, we'd go around and, introduce ourselves and who we are, because we also have our separate YouTube channels. Let's start with Trouble8385.
Well, my name is Trouble835, aka Robert. Of course, the videos I mainly do on my channel, YouTube game community videos where I talk about, interesting videos I see in the community, any news going on, stuff like that. Outside of that, I do pickups, occasionally like my arcade or talking about some video game I used to play in the past. That's basically my channel in a nutshell.
All right, thanks.
So,
Now for you, Mr. Combat Fighter.
It's all right. I guess my page is mostly made up of me playing online games. I do it on a rare occasion, as well as I do mostly Let's Plays on my channel. Mostly any game that I usually find enjoyable most of the time.
I guess that leaves me. All right, I'm Mr. Killer Hornet, of course, aka Thomas. Basically, my channel consists of, just pickups and just anything I want to discuss, or even, if I enjoy, pick up a few laser discs and whatnot. All right, so I figured let's go ahead and get
cool.
started with today's first topic, and that is the Nintendo 3DS XL. Opinions, anybody?
Go ahead, Trevor. You got one.
Well, I would say I'm not surprised they announced it, but I am because I thought E3 would be this year comes the announcement of the next one. I mean, again, the last XL was at the very end of the DS life cycle. I thought this would come later, after they had the second iteration of the 3DS, maybe fixing some of the things like, the Circle Pro Pad would be inside the 3DS stuff. But
I mean, for me, I honestly saw it coming, but like I'm gonna agree with you, not so soon on this because I mean, if you think about it, the 3DS hasn't even been out for very long, and now they're already coming out with another model. I mean, yes
well,
and no to it. I mean, but really, it doesn't bother me too bad because I don't own a 3DS yet.
Likewise. So the thing that I thought, before you told me was that it had like two circle pads. I was actually excited because, I do want to kind of play the Resident Evil game, but at the same time, a lot of people say it sucks. But overall, the XL looks really nice just for an extra $30 if you don't own a 3DS. I think it's a nice, bonus if you want to get it.
well, I would say this that it's cool that I kind of actually wished when they originally launched the D3DS that they would have had the option of you could buy the 3DS or you could buy the 3DS XL, right?
Mhm.
You want the bigger screen, here you go. But now that it seems that the reports that they're going to put the Circle Pro Pad out separately for this too, I don't know why they didn't add it into it. I'm not upset they didn't add it into it, but at the same time, I don't know why they didn't. Uh,
Right.
Well, like other iterations of the 3DS, since like they have the XL, you never know if they make like a lighter version or possibly.
well, I mean, looking at the DS life cycle, like near the end, it was like every year, here's a new DS, right?
Yeah, because
So they're kind of going with the Apple philosophy, every year a new model, and so
Right.
that's what they're doing. It's just, uh, I'm not upset at it. You buy technology early, you pay for it later, right? I mean, that's just a simple fact. I mean,
yeah,
again, there's nothing wrong with 3S. I love the system. It's just, it's cool to come with XL early. It's just, a lot of people are like, wow, because when you look, really, a lot of people forget the DS to the DS Lite was only a year,
yeah,
actually.
That's
that's the
true. I didn't realize that.
thing I don't understand. Like why everybody's pissed about. It's like they should have seen it coming. Like, of course, Nintendo's always going to bring out an updated version because when we look at the DS, there's the normal DS, then the DS Lite, then the DS XL, then the DS XLI, and then DS Fuckamaton. But it's like there's always going to be upgrade, like you said. And in all honesty, I would love to have a 3DS right now. And just because Castlevania what's it called? Mirror Space coming out that's actually giving me more motivation to play it, as well as that Nintendo actually has a good library set up. Just
You know what's funny about that Castlevania game? I've heard from a lot of podcasts I listen to, where the guys speaking, they said that game isn't good, but again, I can't wait. I'm interested to see what's going to be like on the 3DS. 3DS has a decent library. I think they need to build it up more, but
I mean, for me,
Yeah, more-
when it comes to the 3DS, I mean, I'd like to see, like more classic games I grew up like one thing I'd really love to see come to the 3DS, and I really think they could do this well is Ice Climber.
yeah, put the 3D into it. That would have been a nice feature to put in.
I would actually say that Nintendo could probably do something eShop version of that game, because I don't know how well that would do at retail, today.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I would think I wish Nintendo would dig back in their older library and make newer versions.
Of those games instead of like Mario, Metroid, and Zelda.
well, I mean, speaking of Nintendo, it is kind of nice that they are showing Kirby some love this year.
For how long? That's the question because they did make Kirby's Epic Yarn, which wasn't that epic.
But
Well, I mean, it's kind of good that they're giving Kirby the anniversary thing, because Kirby's always been the Nintendo child. Here, at the end of the generation, the Wii was the first time, like, actual games earlier than the end. I mean, you know.
Well, at least they're doing a better job at it than what they did with the Mario 25th anniversary or 20th anniversary.
yeah,
Which is
I'll agree with that. I mean, because I kind of felt like the 25th anniversary of Mario was just a joke. I mean, yes, it is nice to see, Mario All Stars ported to the Wii, but basically you're not getting anything new in the game.
oh, this thing though, they got lazy because think of it like as a ROM for All Stars. It's probably the gig. They could have probably put that World plus, possibly, Sunshine. That would have been a nice iteration for it, but I just say Nintendo was lazy, grab the ROM for All Stars and just put it into the disc and just resell it.
Right.
Well, it'll be more interesting next year, because I believe next year Metroid's big anniversary kicks in, so,
That should be
it'll
nice,
be interesting what
but
they do.
I mean, getting back to the 3DS XL, I mean, I really can't understand why a lot of, I guess, like we've kind of talked about in the past is, what gamers bitched about is, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to play Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. All right. How many gamers, let's be rationally, how many gamers are going and buying Raccoon City for the 3DS?
That's a raccoon. You have a 3DS?
Or whatever Resident Evil game it is.
I think more so than anything, everybody was hyping it up, saying that it was supposed to be how Resident Evil was supposed to be a survival. But now that they got their hands on it, they feel more disappointed in anything about the game. And that's the one thing
Well,
that I don't like about gamers now. They hype up a game too much.
well, let's be honest here. The last couple Resident Evil games, not number 5, but you can go number 5 if you want to, haven't been that good.
Right.
They've been really
They've kind of been, here's the brand name, but these games really don't live up to the brand that you know. And
yeah,
that's where people get upset.
the expectations because everybody's thinking of the past, where that's the name of the thing, the past. You can't recreate a game that was made back then. You can't relive your memories. Pretty much, that's what I'm trying to say, and that's what everybody keeps on thinking. That hopefully this next Resident Evil game is going to be what I played back in 1996 or 7, and it's just not going to happen.
Right. I mean, Resident Evil was nice when it came out, but I mean, when you start to port it to handhelds, I just really don't think it works.
Mm-mm.
It can work, but handheld's a different experience than a console, and this is where game companies seem to fail. That it's a totally different experience. So if you want to make your game more handheld, you got to give them that different experience that they can only get on a handheld instead of a home console.
All right, and how do y'all feel about the a slight increase in the price on the 3DS XL?
$30 more is not that bad. You're still getting the experience that you want. You're just getting a bigger screen, better battery.
But,
Probably.
but Nintendo did learn their lesson. It is cheaper than the original price of the 3DS, so
It's 350.
Right. I mean, $30 more. I mean, it it'll give a chance to the people that haven't picked up a 3DS. If they were, kind of like myself, waiting for the newer and better model to come out, a chance to go pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna. Truth, people want to talk about this, but the larger screen appeals more to the like my mother and stuff would more look at that game. The more grandparents, the older people would look at the bigger screen than the smaller one. It's just, you
Yeah.
know,
And more so, like I think the 3DS, like the newer model, is like more rounded out. Like it doesn't have like the square edges like yours have,
yeah, it's rounded. The corners are rounded stuff. Yeah,
and more comfortable, I guess, if you put it in your.
and it's just to make it look different, I guess. To
Right.
make it look in your mind like, hey, this looks different than the other one.
Mhm.
Well, let's
Yeah.
move on to our next topic. It is, I just can't believe this when I found out about this the other day. It is Atari's 40th birthday.
Uh,
It is.
now, two can handle it. I can't handle this because I'm too young.
Well, I mean, Atari started off, everybody knows, with Pong. And just, again, Atari 2600 was the first gaming console I ever had. And is why I got into gaming in the first place. And it's funny how Atari is one of those very unusual companies that today doesn't matter much to gamers as it used to. But it still
Oh,
has a
shoot. I
very
mean,
strong
if you want to go back to, the late 70s, early 80s, I mean, we're talking about before Nintendo hit the scene. That's all you would hear is Atari.
Yeah, I mean, just think it's weird how Atari made some bad decisions. Like originally, they were negotiated to bring the NES over here. If they had done things differently, things could have been totally different. For them. But as a company, it's weird how you look at their history and they had such a great beginning, and how much they bumped in the whole console market with the Jaguar and all that stuff they did.
I don't know. I mean,
There were so many great games.
oh,
they
man,
made,
I still even, if I'm not mistaken, before I had an NES, I played a 2600. I believe my dad had one. So I remember having a lot of memories with that.
Yeah, I just remember getting that Christmas morning and just opening that thing up and being so excited to play that console. And funny thing is, the family side of it, the games that me and my mother and my sister played together most of the time would be Blackjack and Atari Circus that had the whole circle pad thing. We played those a lot.
And just it's kind of interesting to see, how Atari's progressed over the years. Like, all right, yes, they've had some bad system releases, but it's like nowadays, when you go ask gamers, hey, Atari? It's like
Yeah, I mean,
you're like, who? Almost in a way.
well, I mean, most people wouldn't realize Atari was the one who brought the Dragon Ball games over here. We did the Godzilla games.
That's
I mean,
it's hard more than anything is Dragon Ball Z games and the Godzilla games.
Oh yeah, I had all.
maybe
of them.
Dragon Ball was one of their major money makers for a while until now Namco does it. But I mean, Atari in the older days, I never played a 5200, never played a 7800. I had my 2600, played all the games from Berserk to, the Battle Zone to Pac-Man. Even though people rip on Pac-Man, I still had fun with that game.
I mean, I kind of feel bad in a way for Atari when the NES came out, and in a way I don't. I mean, because you think about it, that at the time Atari had the 5200. I mean, and then here comes the NES, and gamers are like, "Oh,
Well,
what is this?"
Well, at the time, the video market was dead. I mean, we had the crash over here, and so Nintendo, no one was wanting to get back into that. Atari got into computers, and then Nintendo brought out the NES, and of course Sega brought the Master System, and that brought back the video game market over here. And
And also, they didn't really change their games when the NES and like Genesis came out. It was just like they were pretty much stuck in the past with Atari, from what I've seen.
Atari had it's funny when you look at there's the family run Atari, Jaguar stuff. A lot of were just bad. I mean,
Yeah.
the arcade division was a different. It was Time Warner. You had Primal Rage and stuff like that come out, but the home console was Sammy Hill and Atari. They just